I'm Vanessa and welcome to my sewing room. Today we're going to talk about darts. So today we're talking about darts. Now darts are a little confusing for us because oftentimes our bra size, cup size is going to be different than our dart size. So our bra size goes from our rib cage up to our full bust, and every inch past what our rib cage is plus 3 is a cup size. So that's super confusing on its own. But what our darts are doing is it's trying to take away this extra fabric right here. So as you can see, this fabric that we're trying to take away is on our upper bust. And so that's why we measure our upper bust and then the inches difference to our full bust. And each one of those inches are measured in the same letters. So you can have a cup size of a D, but then your dart size is going to be a B. So it's a little confusing, right? So let me talk about how to measure our darts. So all you need is a piece of elastic. And this is going to help us find where we need to start with our upper bust. So you take your elastic and we're just going to clip it. You want to make sure that this elastic is stretched. That is what we're going for, a nice tight stretch. Now you're going to find the place where it fits the easiest. So this right here is my upper bust. So then I can take my elastic and I can measure. So I'm going to go right on that elastic. I'm going to take that elastic off. Okay, so my upper bust is at a 32. I have a really small rib cage. So my full bust, it is very hard to find clothes, by the way. This is what we sew, right? My full bust is at 34.5 inches. So that means that I'm 2.5 inches. So that's gonna be putting me at probably a C for my darts, whereas I normally buy a different size for my actual bras. So just so you know, that's how we measure, is from our upper bust to our full bust. And don't let the cup size bother you, because again, you're not measuring from your ribs to your upper bust, but you're trying to remove that extra fabric that kind of hangs out right here. So let's get started over at the cutting table. All right, so today we're going to be using Ellie Mac's Classic Camisole top and dress. So you can use this video as a step-to-step sew along with that pattern as well. Okay, so let's talk about the darts. I have a whole bunch of things on my table and I just want to kind of explain how we're going to use all of them. So first, my dart needs to be, I'm taking out 2.5 inches. So I'm going to measure this dart, and this dart right here is 1.25 inches. So I have two sides, and so that's going to be 2.5 inches that's going to take out from this upper part of my dress. So that's perfect. So this is the size of dart that I absolutely want. Now, do you see this right here? This is a dart that you can move, a movable dart. Now, when I measured this one, this is about 2 inches. So 2 inches wide is going to be 4 inches total. So it's going to be A, B, C, D cup. So this one's a little too big, but if you're a D cup, it's going to be perfect. So let me tell you how to use this movable dart. So you're going to just trace it. And the triangles are important. What's important about the triangle is right here, that sharp corner, because that lets you know where to line up your apex with. This right here is your apex. Okay, so now that you have your dart traced, you can take this dart and you can place it wherever you want it to be. Now this dart looks a little long for my size, and so we can line it up with the dart that's already on there. So let's say that this right here is going to be the center of your chest, of your breast. And so here is this movable dart that's a size D, and you can tell that's not gonna be the center of my chest. But just to show you how a dart works, is you're actually gonna fold your dart in half at the ironing board. So if your whole bodice is connected, you iron your dart down halfway, and you're gonna take that tip of your dart to your apex. And so you're gonna iron it down. And then, so you iron your dart flat, and then you take your sewing machine and you can easily just sew right along this line. And that's how you get your dart. So just remember that there's a center seam right here, or a center line right here that you fold on from your apex to where it comes out. And then let's say this dart's a little bit big, but let's say I want to move this dart down a little bit because I know I tend to wear my dresses a little bit higher, a little more for more coverage. So I can actually move this dart down as well. So this dart right here can end up becoming a movable dart. Or what we're going to do today is make a custom dart. So let's say that you are an A dart. What you're going to do is you're going to measure this so it's only 1/2 inch wide. And so you can make this dart smaller or wider depending on what size you need. So here I'm cutting out the front of my dress. And so here is the dart. So we're going to just cut this at an angle. Now I want to make sure that this is my apex right here. So I'm going to add the apex later. And I also feel like I don't know if this dart right here is going to be too low. So I have cut one right here. This pattern projector is the program that I use to project on my cutting board. So that's how you're getting these lines, the nice sharp green. Okay, so right here I've lowered my dart 1 inch. Now I can cut this out of paper, or I can just lower it with my patternprojector.com program. So now I'm going to cut out this dart again. So I have an upper and lower dart. So as you can see on the back of my dress, I have these diamond, I've heard them called fisheye darts, I've heard them called V darts. So when I measure them to the top and the bottom of those darts, we're looking at 11 1/4. So we know that halfway down is going to be 5 and a little bit less than 1/4. So just barely off that line. So we're going to be measuring, okay, we're going to move that just a little bit right here. And we know that this right area should be the center of our dart. All right. And then we're just going to be measuring down, marking down to that line. And then right here. So we're going to be doing this on both sides of the dart. So this is normally what we do to the front of our dress, but we're not for sure where we want those darts at. But on the back, we're pretty sure. This pattern also has an option if this is a little too much, where you can just use elastic at the back and it looks super adorable. But I personally love this type of darts. I'm making this pattern to go with a jacket for a pattern test that has its finals due tomorrow. So no one's gonna see this back but me, but I'm gonna love it, right? Okay, so here's our darts. They're nice and marked, and we'll get back to these here in a minute. I actually want to sew these darts, add on the straps before I get back to my front darts. So you're getting 2 different types of darts in this video. So what we're going to do is we're going to pinch at the top of the darts, right? At the top and the bottom. And we're going to make sure that we're pinched completely in half. And then we're going to iron this down. Now we're going to move to the other side, making sure, well, we want to make sure that this is perfect. And it is. Okay, so again, we're going to pinch the top of the start, and then we're going to pinch the bottom of the start in half. I have some fabric. Okay, there we go. We're going to pinch both of these. And then we're going to lay it in half, and then we're going to iron it over. That's what's going on. So we pinch it. We make sure that right here is the same thickness as the other side. Okay, perfect. We're going to just iron it down. All right, there we go. So here we are at my sewing machine, and this is a piece of test fabric. And the reason why I'm doing a piece of test fabric is so I can get my bobbin and my needle thread long. Now what we're going to do is lay our dart onto underneath my needle, and we're going to start at that. I have a little start line right here, and that is exactly where I want my needle to land. So if I make sure, I'm going to put my needle down. So we don't want to back stitch at all. I'm going to come up a little bit more right here. Okay, we don't want to back stitch at all, and we want to have nice long threads. And we're just going to follow that chalk line. So again, remember that this is ironed in half, and we're just following that chalk line. Now, right here, when we get to this chalk line that comes across, we're just going to pivot just a little bit. And that's going to give us our diamond shape. And then as we get close to the top of this, we're going to sew right off. Lifting up, long lines. Okay, now right here, we're going to take these threads and we're going to just knot them. Make sure you have any twist off. And we're going to just hand knot them instead of back stitching, because we don't want to have a whole bunch of thread stuck at our darts. So make sure you do this on all 4 ends. Okay. You don't want to pull too hard. I know that looked like I was pulling hard, but you can see that I have some of these long knots. I'm going to just leave that there though. You don't want to add a pucker though. So be very careful as you're sewing, as you're tying your knots. 1, and here's the other one. 2. Okay, let's start on the other dart. See, darts aren't too scary. I know they feel scary at the beginning, but they're not bad. I love darts. It gives your garments just an extra look. I want a little bit more off. So again, just follow your chalk. That's the reason why it's there. I know you can add a lot of needles here, but I've noticed that when I start sewing over my needles, I get weird things happening, you know? And I also don't want to break a needle off, and like that's a little dangerous. Okay, it's right here. There we go. So again, we're right there at that line, and we pivot just a little. And then we want to make sure that we're sewing off. Okay. When we sew off, it kind of creates some twists in our thread. So we want to make sure we try to get those out, but it's already like it's knotted at the end. Okay, so as we pull, Okay. And then again, we're gonna just tie right here without causing a pucker. There's one knot, and then we want a double knot, and then you're gonna cut these threads as well. Make sure you don't accidentally cut the darts. I know when you're looking at a pattern and you see just an unusual dart and you think, oh, you know what? This means I cut here. Just make sure you don't do that. And you know, you're not making any holes. So if you mess up here, you can completely go back and try it again. So don't get too overwhelmed by darts. You can always redo a dart. There's no cutting involved. Okay, so before we can start checking to see where we actually want our darts to be, we need to get these straps basted on too. So we're just gonna sew a 3/8 inch and then backstitch on both of our straps. Oh, I hate when it does that, don't you? Okay, I think we can iron that out. Let's see. There we go. We'll be just fine. Okay, let's do the other one. Again, 3/8 inch. So when you're beginning sewing, you don't want to look at where your needle is. What I'm looking at are these lines right here that says 3/8 inch. And so I'm making sure that my fabric's lining up, and you can see 3/8 inch also lines up with this foot. All right, we're gonna backstitch. And we're all done. So here's the strap, and we're just sewing it in the center. We're just gonna double stitch this on, or back stitch it on, to make sure it stays. But remember, we're gonna be going over this with our facing. We're being weird right there. See that? Okay, looks like we're gonna be okay. So again, we're gonna add the facing, but right now we're just trying to sew this onto the front so we can see where we want the dart. So I'm gonna do this on all four sides, front and back. Okay, so here we go. So we have our dress and I'm wearing it inside out. Now I have it clipped on the sides, and then you're gonna go into the mirror and you're going to find your apex of your dress and you're going to mark it down, and then you're going to mark it where you want it to start. So draw a nice little T. This one's a little bit clearer. So where you want where your apex is, and then you're going to do a line across. So this way, I know that this is going to be the start of my dart, and then I'm going to decide which one I want, and we're going to go draw those triangles right now. Okay, so now you can see my T right here. Now, when we look at our darts, actually the top one looks like where it's lining up the best. So we're gonna take our quilter square. Let me actually flip this around so you can see what I'm doing and I can have control. Okay, so here's our dart. Let me move it a little bit more. This is the hardest part, huh? Okay, so I'm gonna, right here is that line where it touches, and then we're going to draw it out right here. So we're gonna draw one line right here to the corner of the dart. That's not quite, let's actually come in a little bit more right there. So we're gonna be right here. So we're gonna have right there. And then we're going to do the center line of that dart. And this is where we're gonna iron it on the fold. And then we're gonna come right here. So this is our dart lines. So we're just gonna ignore that one. Okay, you can see that I have it ironed and it stops right here at the apex. And then my triangle is folded in half, and these two chalk lines are lining up. So now you're just gonna put it underneath your sewing machine. Make sure that you remember which one you're gonna go on. Okay. On this part here, we actually can back stitch. So we're gonna back stitch our dart at the beginning. And you're just going to stay on that blue line that you drew with chalk. Now, once we start getting to this apex line, which is right here, we're going to just sew off. Right there. We're going to lift up our needle and we're going to take extra long threads. Now we're going to do this on both sides. So again, do not start at the center of your dart. You want to start at the end size seam. Okay, we're going to back stitch. If the dart doesn't have a center seam, I highly suggest adding it. Okay. The chalk sometimes spreads. Okay, so we're going to lift these off, and then I'm going to make sure that when I tie these strings that we're not pulling on them whatsoever. Right here is the most important part. If you pull on these threads, you do not want to pucker at all. You want to have these darts blend in. So we're going to do one. Again, just stop right there. And then we're going to add in a second knot. Okay. Might even add one more. Okay, so I'm going to do the other one, and then we're going to be back at the iron, and I'm going to show you how to use a ham to get these darts perfect. Okay, so this right here is an ironing ham. It's usually made with sawdust. It's really tightly packed in there. You can buy these pretty inexpensively. There's patterns to actually make them. I don't know, I find them pretty useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to iron down our dart, and then what our ham is for is to give our dart shape right here. So we're just going to come over, and then you just iron it, and it gives us the perfect shape for our dart. Just kind of gives us a nice round shape when we're trying to iron in our dart. Okay, so here's my dress, and you can see that my darts are nicely placed. The apex is right where I want it. And now we're ready to start finishing up our dress. So this was a great way to make sure that my darts were right where I wanted them. They weren't going over, nor were they going further than I wanted. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. I carry most of my weight on my bottom half, and so I always want to make sure that the distances with my darts, sometimes they can be a little long. And then with my pants, it's a little bit more, I need to make things wider. So that's what's so nice about sewing, is that you can measure it to your body. You did it! You made sure that your darts are perfectly placed on your pattern and for your body. Let me just show you how mine turned out here. You can see right through here how they come up, and they're placed right where I would like them to be. So I hope next time you see a dart, you feel comfortable not only moving it, but making sure that it's the right size to fit your body. Have a wonderful day.